Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordile. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change in your life. I'm here to guide you, inform you, and hopefully help you to triumph over trauma and the long list of symptoms that come along with it. This podcast series is to bring knowledge, share stories, and open up conversation around hope for those of you that suffer with the difficulties that present themselves in your life from diagnosed or undiagnosed trauma. Labeled or not, I know you need help, and so do those that have graciously taken the time to have these conversations with me. So let's get to it. Welcome to the week, Change Gang. We're right back finishing the conversation with Lorna this week, so I'm just going to let you dive in and enjoy. Here we go.
I did another session with a lady who had a fear of flying on planes, and she was a business lady who had to fly from Brisbane to Sydney. And every time she thought about getting on the plane, she felt nauseous, but she still did it because she had to with her work. So she came for that reason, and I did the same therapy with her, and I took her back on the feeling of getting onto the plane, which was a horrible feeling. But she went back and she said she felt she was drowning, like she was choking. And I thought, that's unusual. So we went back, and she was on the beach. She was a little girl, about 2, and she was holding the hands of her brothers, and they were taking her into the water like the surf, and her parents were sitting up on the beach, and they weren't really watching. So the brothers, who were older, were walking her into the shallow surf, but then a wave come up and knocked her over, and she fell on her face in the surf, and she inhaled all this water, and she felt like she was choking and drowning. But they pulled her out, and she was okay. But that was where she went. Now, somehow the subconscious is connected that with flying. This isn't logic, because subconscious isn't logic. And whatever she's thought or happened in between, it doesn't really matter. But I helped her to understand that that was the beginning of it. And it was the same feeling she was getting when she was getting on the plane, and to see that that was the child, and I did a resolution. And she was fine after that. She even sent me an email to tell me how great it was flying now.
That's the thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be that how it's manifested in your life now is what happened then. It could be a whole different situation, but this is how it's shown up in your life.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I think our minds are just these crazy, amazing things that we get to go play with and that can help us, and unfortunately cause some issues for us. But when we work with it and we work together, it does this magic, and it just changes everything. And I love it.
I think the conscious mind, which is around 10%, as we know, needs to have some idea of what the cause is as well. I think once it understands what could have caused it, it's like the two come together in a better way. Goes bang, aha moment. I'm an adult now. I don't need, that's got nothing to do with me getting on a plane, so let's get rid of it. It's gone.
Absolutely. Awareness changes everything. When you come into that conscious awareness and things become visible or not, you have that knowledge of them at that point, it connects dots automatically, I think. And in doing that, it changes everything in your reality and everything that you're perceiving. And it's like, oh, okay, it's exactly an aha moment. And then from there, things can spontaneously change from awareness. It's crazy amazing that way.
My clients, when they understand what the cause is, they're blown away, but they can't deny it. That's the thing. When they're in the hypnosis and you get them to the cause, there's none of them going away go, oh no, it couldn't have been that. They know absolutely 100%. And yet, if I had already worked it out beforehand, if I was to say before I do this, oh, well, it's because this and this happened, they're going to go, oh, no, it's not that. It couldn't be that. They will be in denial. It's showing them. And I think that is part of the secret of this therapy being so successful, as well as finding the cause. They go, oh, my God. I've had them crying in the chair. They're so overwhelmed that that's what it was. I mean, I've had a lot of clients where they've been locked in cupboards as a child, and then by an older sibling or a parent even, and they have a fear of the dark now. now, or a fear of small spaces or flying. And that's what caused it. But they've got no clue that that caused that now. And they just totally discount their background because, I mean, who we are now is what's happened to us to get us to this point.
I agree. I think it's so incredible. And it is another interesting part that it is so discounted. And I find that interesting with people that they would absolutely, I agree with you, say, oh, no, that's not it. I dealt with that. That's not a big deal. Trauma, the abuse, the whatever it is. It's like, no, that's not it. I'm beyond that. I'm past that. But it's that one little moment of that one time that they got locked in that cabinet and something happened inside of them. And when they can go to that and they find that feeling inside of themselves and they find that moment, it does spark that awareness. But they have to find that for themselves. It can't be told. But they know that it's like that deep down knowledge. It's like it's right there. And they go, oh, okay, yeah.
It's accessing the part. Once you have the part, it will tell you. But you have to get to the part. And it has to feel safe to talk to you. But if you can get there, it can take a few sessions with some people during that therapy. I might do it 2 or 3 times before I actually act, especially with people, women who have been sexually abused. I've worked with a lot of Maori women from New Zealand. Their lives have been horrendous where they've had sexual abuse, and the part won't always come out in the first time I do that session. I did 4 sessions with one lady, and we only just briefly touched on it because I go slow with them. And now she's just come back for more because she realized that is what's underlying. It still hasn't been changed. So she's brave that she's coming back for a few more sessions. If you've ever watched the movie Once for Warriors, that's the lives a lot of Maori women have lived in Auckland, and it's been horrendous. And a lot of them have come to Australia for a better life, and they're married and whatever, but they bring their trauma, and it's passed down to their daughters and so forth. And they gain weight, they eat, they're overweight, they can't understand why, they're having gastric surgery at the hospital because they're overweight, but it's all trauma. And same with marijuana. I had a fellow come, his girlfriend rang me, she's my partner, has stopped marijuana smoking, but he's got massive anxiety because he stopped. But you see, the marijuana was to push the anxiety down, but he had to stop the marijuana, I think, for a job or something. I said, well, I don't know if I can help. Just come in. I did a session with him. I used the anxiety to launch him back to where that began. He went back to an abusive father, and we resolved that. He saw the father as what he really was and all of that, and I helped put that wounded, fearful part, which was the anxious part, to feel happy and safe. Often they just need to feel safe. An adult part will come in and help it to feel safe. It's a child. You don't need to do anything. You're safe now. You're loved, all of that. You did nothing wrong. And he went away. Anxiety was gone just like that.
That's awesome. Wow. See, we can talk for a very long time. We'll just keep talking. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. You have so much to share, too. I want to just touch on, you have written a book, Teach Hypnosis now. You have so many different offerings. So tell everyone a little bit about where they can find the book and where they can connect with you to either work with you or train with you, because you're doing the wonderful training now too.
Yes, we've been trainers in Australia for quite a few years, traveling. And when the COVID came on, everything was put on a halt. We had videoed our trainings. Fortunately, we had insight and we've recorded them. So my husband put them all into online training courses. So we do offer a certificate in clinical hypnotherapy, a diploma in clinical hypnotherapy. We train past life regression, and we also train my own unique style of past life regression, which is called Soul Regression Therapy. And that includes past life and regression to the afterlife. That course was actually a 6-day classroom, but now it's been put into an online. So they're all on our website at the Hypnotherapy Learning Hub. So it's international, and we have students all over the world, and people can enroll, go to the website, and you can study in your own time because you see all the courses that are pre-recorded. It's me training. It's like you're sitting in the back of the classroom and you can hear the students asking questions. It's like a live training, and I'm then doing lots of demonstrations. What I've just explained, that therapy is part of our diploma. It's called the Personality Integration Process, and it's a module lesson lessons in our diploma of clinical hypnotherapy. It is in the diploma because we build on that type of therapy. My own special way of getting to that. There's lots of components to it. So just doing that isn't enough. You need to do the whole lot. But our prices are very reasonable. We're not expensive. We don't believe that we should be charging exorbitant prices to learn this. So we do offer discounts through the year. But I talked to my husband and we've decided to offer 30% discount. So if any of the people listening to this podcast would like to go on there and do any of our courses, we're offering you 30% discount. So all you need to do is email support. The email is on the website, support@hypnotherapylearninghub.com, and mention what the code word Dolores Podcast and which course that you're interested in. John will help you with that.
Thank you for that. That's very generous. I appreciate that.
So all the courses are on there. And through my career, I wanted to put all the pieces together to make sense of hypnotherapy and how we can really help people, especially with trauma, because like I was saying, it is underlying most issues. And that's what I've done in the course. So it took me many years to work all that out, and I don't hold back. I give everything. I've practiced for over 20 years in my clinic on the Gold Coast in Queensland and in Brisbane. I work between two clinics, home clinic and in Springwood in Brisbane. Now I'm semi-retired in Thailand, but I still do Zoom sessions, and there will be a new lesson up there, a new module on how to conduct Zoom sessions. So that'll be coming up on there in the next few weeks. That's for anyone to do. You don't have to do the whole course to do that, because I've discovered a lot of different techniques and inductions to use on Zoom to make it easier.
Yeah, because we're all doing it on Zoom now. So, I mean, that's where my whole practice is on Zoom. So I think it's important. And sometimes you do need to modify something or change something, or it can be a little bit helpful. So I think that's a great option for somebody, even if they've been doing something for a while. Going in and getting some of those tips on how to make it better is awesome. Continue your education, continue the learning process, add the new things in. And then you also have a book.
My book, Soul Regression Therapy. And we wrote this book. I did write it down. We went to India, actually. We went to India twice. I think I published this in 2016 because we were going to Delhi. We were invited to go to Delhi to the Association of Regression and Research and Reincarnation, run by an amazing group of Indian hypnotherapists and psychologists. And Dr. Newton Kondavi, he's the person who runs it. He's actually a medical doctor, and he runs these conventions every 2 or 3 years. He hasn't had any since the COVID running, so they put them on hold. But anyway, we published our book so we could take them to the conference in India. I had it written, but I didn't have it finished, so we had to hurry up and get it all done. And we took a suitcase over full of books, and they all just flew off the table. So our book does really well, but it's like a companion book for our Soul Regression Therapy course. But if you just want to buy the book, it's available on Amazon. It's available on most online bookstores and also Kindle electronic books. So it contains like a bio of us, what happened, who we are, how we got where we are today. And there's about 15 case studies of past life regression and life between life sessions that John and myself have done over the years. And so that's the book. I do have another book almost ready to be published as well. We went back to India. We went to Mumbai. I think that was in 2018. And that was just before the COVID. We run a workshop at that convention, and it was about twin flames, soulmate, and synchronicity. And we had over 100 people in that workshop. And I then took them all through at the end through a past life regression where I took them to meet their soulmate or twin flame. Went down really, really well. But from that workshop and attending an afterlife conference in Byron Bay the year before where we did a presentation, then I wrote a book on all of that. So it's really fascinating. I've got a fabulous past life regression case study in the back of that book. So hopefully we'll have that published.
I'm just going to talk about it for a second, but with past life, people are so interesting with that. And they're like, well, is it really real? Is it? And it's like, sometimes I don't care if it's real or not, because if you're going back, if your mind is taking you to the story that you need to hear for whatever reason, whether it's to uplift you, to encourage you, to heal you, to guide you, whatever it is, if that's what your mind is using to give that to you, I'm all for it. And if it is real, which I happen to think it is, then it's crazy amazing that we get to go and tap into that energy that's there. Because I've been guided through a past life regression and taken into the space in between and some of that. And for me, it was a journey that I had never, and feelings and experiences that I had never experienced in this particular lifetime before. So to me, it also felt really real. I'm going to take it as that's my truth, that's my reality, and I think that's how it is. And just because of some of the work that I do as well on some of the woo side, I feel like there is that connection with more.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter at the end of the day whether you can't prove, you can't do the research on everybody's past life regression. It's not possible. But occasionally you can. And some of the stories in our book, they have actually found that past life character in history or through the archives or in genealogy. The main case study in there was a lady, her name's Kathy, that's her real name, and I can't remember what her name is in the book. But she came to me for a past life regression, and she was so amazing. She just went straight to the past life and the detail. I hardly had to ask her any questions. And then when my husband was he needed to have a case study for some training for a life between life session, I recommended her, and she was happy to come back. And that was like 3 or 4 months after I'd done the first session. And when he did the session with her, he took her through a past life and then on to the afterlife. She connected the past life that she'd done with me into the past life that came out with him and all the other past lives. And now she would never have remembered all that detail, all that so much down the track. She just wasn't one of those people. Because when I was editing the stories for the book, I said to John, this is amazing. She's connected the past life I did with her in the afterlife. When the guide came through and discussed it all made sense to her more than when I did the session with her. And then she found the past life character that she was. She was a little girl coming into Sydney Harbour on a steamship from England with her father. She had asthma. Her mother had died, and he was bringing her to Australia to have a good life. Oh, it's the detail. The dress she wore, the ribbons in her hair, everything. And it was an interesting death that she had, and then on to the afterlife and everything. So, look, the stories are great, but not everyone has that depth of detail. But it really helped her because she had all these rashes all over her body, and they all went away after the session. And she also understood her life. She had Asperger's children. All the children had Asperger's, including her husband who hadn't told her. She'd left him since and remarried and had another son who was fine. Oh, look, it just was an amazing story. And that's the recording, actually, the live recording that we use in our training of her. We let our students listen to the live recordings of sessions that we've done so they can actually hear us going through, asking the questions and how it all works.
That's so cool. And you can go and find the stories like yours where they do connect to actual people that were in play, the names, the places, who they were. There was a wonderful story on one of the TV shows or something about a little boy who remembered a past life, and he remembered he was in the military. He remembered the name of the ship he was on. He remembered all of these things. This was a spontaneous thing, obviously, not in hypnosis, but just that and all of those memories and going in and having them verified. The parents verified everything.
There's a lot of them that has been verified. That client, she found her name in genealogy or some ancestor. I love that. She really did exist. I had another one. A fellow came to see me for a past life regression. He just didn't look like he would be wanting a past life regression. He just looked like this ordinary guy off the street. I said, why do you want a past life? Oh, well, I've always been interested in it. Never had hypnosis before. Went straight into hypnosis. Amazing regression. And I said, look at your skin. What color is your skin? Oh, it's black. Really? So are you a male, female? I'm a female. And as it turned out, he was a black nanny, an African nanny, Negro, living as a maid, as a slave in this massive big fancy house in South Carolina for the governor, because he did the research of Carolina. And she had a child and they were in slavery. She was born there. And the detail, and when he came out, he was like gobsmacked, blown away. I mean, there's no way this guy would make that up. I could see him looking at his arm when he was in the session like, I've got dark skin. And he went home and he did the research. He rang me the next day. He says, I found my past life character. He really did exist. So some of the things that come out.
Wow. And again, that awareness, that knowledge, those things, and to come into that, it changes you going forward, because even if you didn't realize, oh, I had this wound and I needed to heal this, it will change your perception of life. So therefore, it changes you going forward.
Yes, and it changes the way you see life, death, everything. I mean, he didn't particularly want to change anything. He was just one of those people that were curious. So I think it really shocked him. But the best ones are when they come and they have a problem that they want to cure or fix or relieve or whatever. But it really does throw a lot of insight into where it could come from.
So what is the difference, or what is it that you tweaked or changed with your particular version of the soul regression therapy? What is it that's a little bit different with yours?
Well, each trainer has their own, that's called script, because you have to have a script and then you teach that. So I have a different method of going back, which all methods work, don't get me wrong, but you have to have your own, otherwise you've copied somebody else. But what I found was, and I've done a lot of training with the Michael Newton Institute, Brian Weiss, Dolores Cannon, and others, and I found there was no real therapy at the end of the session. So when you die, what happens then? What do you do with the client? You look back and ask them about their life, and can you understand how that relates to your current life, and what do you need to learn now or do different? And that's probably all they ask, and then they bring them back. So they basically want the person to work it out for themselves. But what my method is in soul regression is to ask them, because if I can find out before we do the session what is the problem, what do they want to change, like we would in clinical hypnotherapy. Well, I want to change. I don't want to be overweight. I want to eat healthy or whatever. Let's use that one. So when we get to the end, maybe the life will have connected to that in some way. And then I can ask, well, were there other lifetimes? Have there been other lifetimes where you've had a similar theme or pattern, where you've been either undernourished and died of starvation, and that's why you've gained weight in this life, or you've been overweight, or food's been an issue, or there's been a famine, whatever the theme is. And then I'll say, and those characters are coming now in front of you. Can you see them? How many are there? And they'll probably say, oh, yes, there's 5 other characters. Oh, so they're all coming in now around you. Are they male? Are they female? Or what are they? Who are? Oh, they're a mixture. So let's call the most significant one to come forward. Is it a male or female? I guide them. Yes, it's a male. Okay, let's have a look at him. So I might look at another 1 or 2 lives just briefly. Can you see how that life connects to the current issue and problem? Can you see what oh yeah, well, he died of starvation. He was in jail and he just died. You see, there's probably different reasons why. So when they start to form a picture on a soul level, so then what is it that Susan needs to do? Can you see now? It's not just your current life and the habits you've created, there's more. And what would those characters say to Susan if they could talk to her? So often it's again a bit like the ego state, where the characters give advice to the client. Yes, I wouldn't do that again. I'd live my life differently. And they all have a little dialogue. Okay, so now you understand all that. Are you able to let go again of that, whatever that is, that feeling that you've been carrying, or guilt, shame, whatever it is? And then I take them through a healing. I don't just leave them hanging. I take them through a process where they let that go of the residue of the past lives, current life, and come through the other side. And then I integrate the healthy part. That's the therapy that's involved in soul regression therapy.
That's incredible. I need to come work with you. I need to come learn from you. I'm just fascinated right now with that, because it is. I think that's a great way to do it, to be able to encompass so many different things right there at all of the levels and bring it together. It's not just one piece or the other piece. It's kind of going, okay, let's look at everything. Let's see what's there. Let's bring it all together and fix it. Let's be whole again. Let's come into the wholeness of now and come into the present moment and be at the best that you can be in this lifetime, and let go of all the little tiny things that you no longer need.
Absolutely. And if they do happen to get stuck, which often a past life regression client will, sometimes they do get stuck and their lives are very fragmented and you don't get a lot of information, or you might not get anything. What do you do if your client can't go back to the past it's like after you've done all the induction and all the deepeners and you've gone through the doors and there's nothing, there's blank, no way. Well, if you've asked the proper questions in the beginning and you understand what their problem is, you can, if you're trained hypnotherapists and you've trained in ego states or my process, personality integration process, then you can talk to the part with the problem. That's where you can bring it out and you can roll into the current life so nothing's wasted, that the session's not wasted. That's the part that doesn't want them to go back until they resolve some trauma in their current life. You resolve that and then they're open, then they're feeling much better. You've got an opportunity there to do that therapy, whereas a lot of past life regressionists would just close it off and say, I'm sorry, you're not going to do. And I mean, I will admit, I've done that. I've just closed it off because I didn't have the skill, but I do now, and I wouldn't waste that. I'd say, well, tell me about your problem. Tell me more. When did it begin in your current life, Susan? Go back to where it began, because you've got them right there in that deep hypnosis. Even though they think they're not deep, they are, and you've got them there. Well, you came here today because you wanted to resolve your eating. You can't stop eating cake or whatever. I'm just using those. The feeling that you need, where did that start? Go back, do a resolution there, and then bring them out. And then they may come back then down the track for a past life. They may feel like, or they may feel they don't need it then.
That's great. We're going to finish this up now. And I just want to reiterate a few things real quick, that you can go to hypnotherapylearninghub.com to find the trainings that you have there. And there's more than one. There's a few things. I actually went and explored it a little bit. And so there's several different things there. And you're going to be adding the one around Zoom trainings, especially for hypnotherapists. So that's a great one. That's going to be a standalone thing that they can grab. So that's wonderful. And you can get 30% off of those things that are available on the website by sending an email to their support at hypnotherapylearninghub.com and mentioning Laura's podcast. And don't forget the book. I'm going to go get the book, Soul Regression Therapy by Lorna and John Jackson. And thank you so much for this amazing conversation, Lorna. I'm so happy to have had you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share it all.
You bet. You bet. Well, I hope that you head off into your day in a wonderful way. And I'm going to actually finish up mine now in a wonderful way. And I hope that we get together again. I'd love to have you back and have more conversation around I wanted to pull in so many different things, but again, we'd be sitting here for another 2-3 hours. So I hope you'll come back and have another conversation.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, then off we go. And Change Gang, I hope that you go and have a wonderful week ahead and that you meet me same time next week right here. Ciao.
I hope today's episode was interesting and helpful to you in some way. If so, find someone to share it with. Maybe it will help them too. If you'd like to know more about anything discussed here today, you can find all the places to connect with me and the guest speakers in the show notes. Or go to lauraordile.com, LauraOrdile.com, and you can reach out to me there. Until next time, ask when you need help, be kind to yourself, and have a happy day.